everyone, and welcome to the thorough newspaper analysis for 21st June 2022. For today, we have one editorial which has been taken from the Hindu, and it is on the it is titled "A Case of the Court Straying into the Legislative Sphere," which basically talks about the misuse of the Section 498A of IPC and how the High Court has come forward and given guidelines which were previously called impermissible by the Supreme Court. Next up, we will have the news update and the legal news, which you know are a part of LawSikho's initiative to keep its students and readers updated with the current affairs that is happening in and around of India. So for the first article today, a case of the court straying into the legislative sphere. So the Allahabad court's directions in the context of marital discord, though noble in intent, seems to be flawed. Now, what happened is recently the Allahabad High Court, while allowing 2 criminal revisions pertaining to a dowry case, took cognizance of the misuse of Section 498A of the Indian Penal Code and proposed certain safeguards and directed the state authorities of Uttar Pradesh to take necessary steps for their implementation in a given time period. Now, the directions that were issued by the High Court were: 1, a welfare committee had to be constituted under the District Legal Service Authority, and any FIRs, secondly, any FIRs that were made on the grounds of 498A IPC, they were to be looked into by this welfare committee. And during this cooling period of 2 months, police could not make arrests. Now, firstly, the essay in the case of Manav Adhikar versus Union of India 2018 explicitly held that the constitution of such committee was illegal. Secondly, the buffer period that the High Court has proposed of 2 months, it was a 1-month buffer period in the case of Manav Adhikar versus Union of India. Now, the questions that arise with this particular set of directions is that, 1, does HC even have jurisdiction to issue such directions when CRPC has clearly laid down the laws regarding the steps to be taken in such cases? This is one of the questions that we are yet to get an answer of, if the High Court actually had jurisdiction to give such guidelines. Second of all, there's a cooling period of 2 months. What happens if the woman, the complainant, fires a second or a third FIR within the cooling period of this 2 months? What do the police do then? No directions in this regard have been issued by the High Court. So while it is true that the intentions of the High Court were noble, curbing the predicament of false cases under 498A, it should be remembered that the misuse of Section 498 IPC is not grounds enough to dilute it and issue directions which SC has already annulled. So now that we have discussed that, yes, this section is being misused, what are the 2 plausible solutions to this? 1, SC in the case of Arnesh Kumar versus the state of Bihar, which was in 2014, had given a lot of guidelines. So what the police need to do is that they must strictly enforce these guidelines to ensure that there is sufficient and credible reason against the accused before arrest is required. Secondly, the legislature may also deliberate and make Section 498A bailable. The High Court too may use the powers given to it under Section 482 of CRPC and quash criminal proceedings which are not compoundable. For the news updates today, we have number 1, the Muslim girls above 15 years can marry. The Punjab and Haryana High Court judged that a Muslim girl over age of 15 was eligible to marry according to the Muslim personal law. In the case Ghulam Deen versus State of Punjab and others, the single judge bench's verdict stood in favor of the couple from Pathankot. For the second article today, we have the Yoga Day on the 21st of June. So the physical observance of the day is being held at 75 heritage and iconic sites in India because of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is leading the Yoga Day celebrations from Mysuru. The first International Day of Yoga was celebrated on June 21st, 2015, and it was proposed in 2014. So the day is also recognized by the United Nations. Thirdly, we have a Black Swan event. So, a study by the Reserve Bank of India has spoken about the possibility of capital outflows to the tune of $100 billion, which is around rupees 7,80,000 crores from India in case of a major global risk scenario or a black swan event. A black swan event is one which is something that the regulatory authorities have not been able to gauge, and it happened suddenly. And basically, the regulatory authorities were not equipped to deal with it. Number 4, we have the world's largest freshwater fish. A 300 kg stingray caught in the Mekong River in Cambodia is now the biggest freshwater fish ever documented, scientists say. It unseated the previous record holder, a 646 lb, 293 kgs Mekong giant catfish caught in Thailand in 2005. For legal updates today, we have no illegality, says Calcutta High Court, while upholding state government's doorstep ration delivery scheme. The Calcutta High Court has held that there is no illegality in the West Bengal Duare ration scheme, under which the state government delivers food grains through the public distribution system at the doorsteps of the beneficiaries. And the same has been held in the case of Sheikh Manowar Ali and others versus the state of West Bengal and others. Secondly, we have Estoppel cannot override law. Supreme Court accepts unsuccessful candidates' challenged selection process held against regulations. The Supreme Court recently held that the principle of estoppel or acquiescence will not apply in the selection process when it is held contrary to the relevant rules in itself. And the same was held in the case of Krishna dead through LRs versus the Benarus Hindu University and others. So this was all for today. For free study materials and TNA PDF slides, please join our Telegram channel, the link of which you can find in the description, or you can always scan the barcode given on your screen @LawTestPrep. You can also follow us on our Instagram channels, LawSikho.Judiciary, LawSikho CLAT Prep, and UGCnet_LawSikho. For any further information, please feel free to visit www.lawsikho.com. Thank you.